Let's talk to John Mayer, ex-BBC producer, because a big piece of the Mail today, BBC staff were too frightened to speak up about Russell Brand because he always got his way. Bosses have apologised amid the claims of rape, assault and emotional abuse that was supposedly carried out by Russell Brand when he was working at the BBC. There were claims of him exposing himself, having sex in a toilet, putting his fingers down someone's trousers and using a BBC car to drive a 16-year-old from the school that she was in to his house. You know, all courtesy of Her Majesty's or His Majesty's British Broadcasting Corporation. John Mayer is here. Very good morning to you, John.
Oh, Mike, we meet again on the same subject?
We do. I mean, it beggars belief, some of this stuff, doesn't it? I mean, you've worked inside the business more than I have. How is it possible that so many of these things that Russell Brand did were not even worthy of him being sort of upbraided for or was called in to see somebody and told, you know, you can't behave like this? You know, why didn't it happen?
Mike, look, to appear on television or to appear even on the radio or even on talk, you need a massive ego to put yourself in front of a camera.
You always say that. I don't have a massive ego. It's not true.
Oh, well, I leave that for others to judge, Mike, whether you have or have not. And you know, with that massive ego comes faults. You know, what do we want our TV presenters to be? Do we want to be total vanilla? Do we want to be?
Well, I prefer it if they didn't expose themselves to people, or you know, have sex in the toilet in the office. That's probably two things I'd suggest. Probably not a great start.
And I'm delighted to see the BBC's finally got a system that actually investigates things and brings it out to the public. But you know, there is this question: what do you want them to be? And I mean, something I think is fascinating is there's a shooting gallery with TV presenters now. You know, they about one a week get shot down. Is that a good thing? Is that a healthy thing in our society? You know, the tabloid press is like fox hunting. They just go after something until.
Well, I don't think it's the tabloid press that are going after Russell Brand. It's the police, actually. The police are investigating some of the things that he's been doing, right? And at the end of the day,
they're taking a while on that, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but it's a police investigation. It's nothing to do with the tabloid press. I think it was the Sunday Times that first broke the story in Channel 4. So it's nothing to do with the tabloid press, I think you'll find.
Well, the Go Compare man this week, you know, and even the poor Bishop of Liverpool.
Well, there are people that tell stories about the way that people behave. You know, here's a clue: don't behave badly, and nobody will tell stories about you behaving badly.
That's true, but none of us are perfect. You know, we have to realise.
Well, I may not be perfect, but I don't expose myself to the staff, and I don't have sex in the toilets. You know, does that make me, you know, an extraordinarily, brilliantly talented presenter because I'm the only one that doesn't do it?
Look, with ego comes flaws, and you have to accept that.
No, I don't. I don't have to accept it. Absolute rubbish. You know, you can have a big ego, and you can be in trouble for speaking to people badly, and you can be taken into to an office by HR and told you shouldn't speak to people like that. But this is altogether different. You know, he's taking a BBC car to pick up a 16-year-old girl from a school to bring her to his house, presumably for nefarious purposes.
That one wasn't proven, as you know.
It wasn't proven.
The report actually wasn't proven.
Oh, so you're now defending Russell Brand?
No, not defending Russell.
Because he's got a big ego.
Report. No, defending the report which says that the car isn't proven. You know, they've got no way of proving that.
What they said, actually, no, what they said was they couldn't find any evidence that any BBC staff had any knowledge that he had inappropriate engagement with competition winners. Well, I don't believe that.
Well, you know,
I mean, everybody knows where cars go. I mean, we have investigations in all sorts of places in news organisations. If you want to know who's ordered a car, you can easily find out where it was ordered from, who ordered it, where it went from, and where it went to. It's not difficult, is it?
Peter Johnston, who wrote this report, said he can find no proof of that. But he did. I mean, look, the BBC has actually finally found a system of investigating things like that and doing it out in the open, as it should, as it absolutely should. But the basic question: what do you want your TV presenters to be? Do you want nuns and vicars presenting TV?
Well, that's the show. That's the show for Channel 5, by the sounds of it. Nuns and vicars. I mean, go put it out about 10 o'clock on a Friday night when people come back from the pub. I mean, I'm sorry to keep giving you these ideas that can make some money. No, listen, I take your point, but you can't surely equate people having a big ego with people misbehaving and being sexually aggressive and being basically overbearing, particularly to younger staff. That's not acceptable. And even if it was acceptable in 1965, it hasn't been acceptable in the commercial business for a very long time.
Mike, I'm sure that if we took some of your staff into a darkened room, they may have secrets.
Listen, that's what you do at the BBC. We don't do that here.
All right. No,
We don't take people into darkened rooms. That's Hugh Edwards' behaviour, that.
Well,
Has he paid back his money yet, by the way, Hugh Edwards?
No, he hasn't, and I think that's deplorable.
It is
absolutely deplorable. The BBC should sue him for that. Who's going to be next week's target? Choose your presenter to shoot down.
I don't particularly want to shoot anybody down, but I think if people are reported to be misbehaving by people who they work with, then I think that's a valid use of people's time. And if the BBC can't control their presenters, then they need to get better at doing that.
Is it only BBC presenters, do you think?
No, it's not. There's ITV presenters. There's all sorts of people who are in trouble all of the time.
Who misbehave? Why do we never hear about the ITV presenters?
Well, you do. Well, I think you heard about Philip Schofield quite a lot, didn't you?
You did, but only Philip Schofield so far. No, the BBC
well, maybe he's the only one. I don't know.
It's fair game. Look, I mean, Mike, people like you take any opportunity to bash the BBC.
That's not true.
Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong.
Yeah. I've never been wrong. That's also incorrect.
The BBC's in a precarious position. The licence fee is coming up, and perhaps we'll have a discussion about that soon.
Well, here's an idea for you. Sky News have just announced that because of the ridiculous expense of being on linear television, they're withdrawing from it. Maybe the BBC should do the same thing.
Sky News are coming off linear television like you.
Yeah.
Are they going on to YouTube like you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, well, they're going digital. We call it going digital, John. It's not just YouTube. YouTube is a very important part of what we do. Yeah. But you might have heard of something called a smart TV. I know you probably don't have a smart TV because you're not smart enough. But if you did have a smart TV, you'd be able to watch us on it because there's an app which you can see, which is called Talk, right? So there's many myriad ways. You can also watch us on Amazon Prime. And there's many myriad ways you can watch us. And so it's not simply going on YouTube, and that's what they're going to do.
Look, I mean, I thought Sky was guaranteed to exist for 10 years.
No. Well, you've obviously not been reading the news, have you?
I haven't. I'm not talking. But look, presenters' ego problems.
Just don't finish the sentence.
The presenters' ego problems. You have to accept that.
No.
You're not
I don't mind people having an ego. I don't accept that people should be allowed to misbehave and do whatever they like. That's not what you do.
And I agree with you. And if they misbehave, they should be slapped on the wrist and told they have. And Russell Brand
was never slapped on the wrist and was never controlled, and so he did what he liked.
People thought he had a direct line to the controller radio too. And she, of course, in this report says she doesn't remember some of these things.
Well, the BBC have apologised, haven't they, for this
they have
lapse?
Indeed.
So they must have thought they got something wrong.
Well, they've now got a system to do it.
So they must have admitted they got something wrong, didn't they? They got it wrong.
They have, and they never admitted on Hugh Edwards. There's never been a proper investigation into Hugh Edwards. From the BBC.
Exactly right. So they're still getting that wrong. Listen, we've got to run. John, thanks very much indeed for the lesson in how not to know anything about television.